morning, everybody. This is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to Poet Respond Live. Hope you're having a great Sunday morning. I've got my coffee here. Haven't had a sip yet, but that's feeling much better. Hope you're having a nice weekend. Now, this is Poet Respond Live. This is our open mic poetry show where we talk about current events through the power of poetry. It's always a lot of fun. Now, if you're joining for the first time, you probably know already, but Rattle's Poet Respond receives hundreds of poems a week, and it's really a pleasure to read them every Saturday, to get to see the world through the lens of poetry, so many different angles and perspectives and ideas. And so the idea of this is to share as much as we can. We only have room to publish so many poems, but there's so many great poems worth sharing. We always start out by sharing the poems that we published this week. And today's poem is by Kristen Gelino, Kneading Bread While Dying. And, as I'm reading submissions, I almost feel like you could, hook somebody up to a chair and force feed them poetry and just pick poems based on which poems give them a physiological response. So, you get goosebumps sometimes, or you laugh out loud, or a tear comes up in your eyes. This poem gave me goosebumps. And I think one of the purposes of literature is to, maybe the main purpose, I could even say, is to provide people with stories that help them with the future. I think that's why we're drawn to story in the first place, is so we can make our models of the universe more accurate, so we can be prepared for things when they happen. And this poem really prepares us all for the inevitable, with this coronavirus, everybody's going to get eventually. And it really helps, I think, psychologically and emotionally and physically too, to have a sense of what's coming up and what you're dealing with. So I'm going to share this poem by Christine. But first I should say, if you would like to call in on the open mic, there's two ways to do it. And people are already calling up. So we have Vidya Venkat, Bill Friedman, Richard Westheimer again. We talked to him last week. We have a 617 number. So if you'd like to join in on the open mic after we talk about the poems we published this weekend, you can do it here. The Skype is Rattle Poetry. So just send me a chat message over Skype to Rattle Poetry. I'll see it and call you back when it's your turn. Or give me a call at 818-850-7727. Let it ring a few times, and I'll call you back. I'll call you back when the time is right too. So how it works is that I get a list of all the things, people that have called, and I will just go up the list, and we'll talk to everybody. And if you submitted the poem through Rattle, I can show it on the screen through Submittable. If you didn't, but you'd still like to read a poem about current events, and remember, this is all poems about current events that we're looking for. So anything that happened in the last, anything that's current in the news over the last week is what we're looking at here. This is a way to review the week's news. Hopefully this week, lately it's been almost all coronavirus, because that's taken all the oxygen out of the room, with really good reason. It's the most important story in the last 100 years, maybe, or maybe since World War II. But there are some other poems this week. There was a poem about... There's a poem about a fireball over Oregon. There was a poem about trying to see the meteor shower last week, which was a dud. And I know, because I took my kids up at a hill too, and we got to see the nothingness that was the last week's meteor shower. There were some poems about Kim Jong-un. That's about it. But so if you have a poem about other topics, that's great too, and we can talk about those topics as well. Now, as I mentioned, let me, 1 second, I have to find something first. Yeah, so once again, the phone number, or the email, if you didn't submit your poem to Poet Respond but would like to share it, the email is openmic@rattle.com. You can send the poems there, and I'm monitoring that inbox too as we go through the show. Now, yeah, so today's poem, I was saying, is Christine Gelino. She's a professor. I met her one time, maybe 10 years ago, at SUNY Binghamton when I was visiting there to do Maria Gillen's, what do they call it, the the poet's desk or something like that, or the editor's desk or something, some kind of guest program she has there. So I met Christine there, and she's also published in our Cowboy and Western Poets issue. She lives on a horse farm in upstate New York, and but here's her poem. This is Kneading Bread While Dying.
Kneading bread while dying. Not a loaf from antiquity forward has ever been formed by hands that were not dying. It's not that I've forgotten that, but here I refer to the special quality imbued to the feel of the yeast springing alive under your palms when the bread making is an attempt to distract yourself from the COVID symptoms that have flared and receded within you now for weeks. At 3 a.m., pacing, jittery, bellowing your lungs in deep 5-second breaths, you find yourself pondering what a life means, living. What is the import of new mornings when the darkness surrounds you elementally as oxygen? Remember that time on the plane, the pilot preparing you for emergency landing, 20 minutes until we are on the ground. See you on the ground, the pilot said, and you curled into yourself, folded into stasis, unable to imagine what could one ever do equal to the last 20 minutes of your life, a question you knew even then had no answer. And now, the window of time left less definite, you fill the hours, walk out into the cold spring to breathe the chill air and visit the nodding daffodils, or you FaceTime the grandchildren, or you knead the living dough, hands pressed deep into the rising warmth of our daily bread.
So once again, that was Christine Galineau reading her poem from today, Kneading Bread While Dying. And I got goosebumps after reading that poem. And I don't know about you, but I really, I checked the date for when she submitted this, and it was Monday. And, she hadn't drawn or revised it or left any comments or anything since then. So I was a little worried about how she was doing. And so it was a relief when she replied to her email last night. And I thought we'd give her a call. I asked her first, of course, but I thought we'd give her a call and see how she's doing. You can all hear from her and get her story in addition to the poem. So I'm calling her up right now.
Hello.
Hey, Christine, this is Tim with Rattle. How you doing? You're live on the air.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm doing so far today doing well, and hoping just to keep it there at that even keel and just keep sailing, right?
Yeah. So so you still live on your farm. I mentioned, right? You live on a horse farm, right? In Vestal, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is in Vestal, but yes, it's on the other side of Binghamton. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, do you want to share with everybody like what your symptoms were and how the disease has progressed? Because you mentioned in the note that you had the atypical symptoms.
Sure. Well, particularly because I've not had the fever, and my lungs have been clear, so that's wonderful. I had digestive issues. Was the first, woke me up at 3 a.m, the first time that it hit back in March. And, it was this whole list of sort of vague things of not feeling like yourself and the extremities tingling, which eventually became neuropathy. The thing that is the exhaustion. Just, I'm old enough to have had a number of things have happened to me by now in my life, but this was like you felt pinned to the bed, like you couldn't even raise a limb kind of exhaustion.
Yeah.
And then another part of the weirdness was the way that you would feel that way for a couple days, and then it would go away, and you'd think, oh, good, I'm getting better. But it takes care of any of that kind of cockiness because it comes back when you least expect it.
Oh, wow.
You're thinking, I'm having a really swell day. For me, the afternoons were always tended to be when I felt the best. But at night, 2, 3 in the morning is a bad time.
Wow. Yeah. And you said you've had it since March?
March 28th was the first time, and I had because I'm in New York and because of everything that's going on, I had a televisit with somebody from my doctor's practice, but not my own doctor. And because I didn't have the symptoms that I have were not ones that back in late March we were saying were associated with COVID. So he was like, well, you have some kind of virus, what it is, but just keep hydrated and rest. And it seemed like I was getting better. And then the very next Saturday, I'm back with another doctor on another telemedicine from the same practice, and we went through the whole routine again, where it's like, you're not having trouble breathing and you don't have a fever, so you can't have COVID. By now, the CDC has come out with a whole list of things. My favorite was that, the first place that I saw a number of my symptoms associated with COVID, they were like, if you've got an elderly person and they're showing this, this, and this, even if they don't have respiratory symptoms, because they were finding on autopsy these people had died of heart attacks, strokes, and actually died from complications of COVID, and they hadn't even recognized.
Yeah. It's a strange disease for sure. The idea that you'd have it for months, which is the normal progression of it, is just in the incubation period. And it enters the cells through those ACE2 receptors, which the lungs is sort of the most sensitive tissue that has ACE2 receptors, but other tissue all over the body does. So it can affect it can affect you anywhere. It's Well, I'm really glad you're feeling better though. And you mentioned that Tuesday after you submitted, you said was the worst day of it, and then you started improving after that. So I really hope that this is the real
the
end, and
final
not just
bout,
another false. Right? Yeah, I hope so.
Yes. Believe me, it is to be devoutly wished.
Yeah. Well, we're all grateful that you're feeling better now, and thanks for sharing that. It's a beautiful poem. It really, it put us in, I think, the experience of having it, which is something that we're all facing because everybody's probably going to catch it. In the New York area, apparently, 1 out of 5 people already have.
Well, especially down in the metropolitan area, in New
York City.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for writing and sharing that poem, Christine, and I hope you continue to feel better.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so that was Christine Gelineau from upstate New York. Now, the other poem we published this weekend was Se Puede by Jose A. Alcantara. He's another poet we've published a few times. He's been in Poets Respond once or twice. He had a poem that, what was it about? It was about it was a very beautiful nature scene poem about flowers in the spring, and there was a reason for that, but I can't remember. But go back and look. That was one of my favorite poems from Poets Respond. But this week he wrote a poem about the coronavirus and sent it in. Se Puede, which is Spanish for yes you can. It's if you don't know, it's a workers' rights kind of rallying cry, if I remember right. And this was his poem about wearing masks, and what I loved about this was how layered and how just there was so much to this poem, so much ambiguity, so many different angles that it hits. Like there's a sense of like we want to get out, but we know that it's not safe, and And then there's the whole, people of color wearing masks and bandanas, and how society views that too. So there are many layers to this poem, and a lot of them are really ambiguous. That last line, which you'll see in a second, I don't know exactly how to take it, and I love that about the poem. It's a poem that makes you think. It's a shorter poem, but it's a poem that really makes you think. So here is Jose A. Alcantara reading Se Puede. Oops, I better unmute it so you can actually hear, huh? Okay.
Se Puede. When I take my morning walk now, I am Pancho Villa. I am Che Guevara. I am an outlaw in a mask and dark glasses. I am starting a revolution. Power to the peonies. Vivas to the violets. We would rather die on our knees, snipping at a flower, than live standing in line, waiting for toilet paper to arrive. Quivering, I throw my heart out, 6 feet in every direction. All that creeps, crawls, slithers, or flies, I love. I lower my mask. I fling wide my arms. I kiss death full on the mouth.
Once again, that was Jose A. Alcantara reading Se Puede. And then his note was really good too. His note was almost like a poem itself. He said, as the lockdown continues, I continue to venture out, wearing my mask. When looking in a mirror, I tie my bandana around my neck. I see how my look looks like a look most people wouldn't like. And so, as is required, I embrace that which I previously avoided. Jose A. Alcantara. So thanks so much for sharing that, Jose. Now let's open up the lines and see who we'd like to call. First up, let's see, we have, let me remind again, if you'd like to call in, phone number is 818-850-7727. Just let it ring a couple times. It'll show up on my call list, and I'll call you back during the show. We'll go until, this is an hour-long show, is the target, so we'll get to you within the hour if we can. We can't get to everybody, but I hope you can join us if you'd like to. And you can also send me a chat message over Skype at rattlepoetry, all one word. That way we can see it too as you share your poem. Now we're going to go to, and just a reminder too that I will be showing your poem. If you submit it to Rattle, I can show it on the screen so people can read along. We've had some questions about whether or not this counts as publication. And my opinion is it does not, so you could still submit it other places, even if you share it here. But it's not like a legal rule. The way the law works, the Copyright Act of 1976, in the United States anyway, says that anything you make, any act of creation, you own the intellectual property, that you can carve up that intellectual property into different things like first serial rights, which is what magazines usually use, audio rights, video rights. The recording itself of you reading your poem right now has its own set of rights, and all of this stuff is different. And so, in my opinion, you'd be using permissions for the audio, which you're granting me by calling in, and you're also using the video, the image of the poem, but you're not publishing the text in a magazine using serial rights. So I think it's fine. But people have asked about that, and who knows what other editors think, because it's not it's not an industry that has a standard. I think there's not enough money in poetry to have industry standards that hold up very well. So that opinion is subject to change. But let me call up Vidya Venkat. She has a poem called Monotony she wanted to share. Let me turn that off so you don't have to hear the ringer. I don't know why they couldn't come up with a better ringtone, but... Hey, Vidya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. Let me pull you into the... Oh, here you are. You're already in there. Let me make sure your audio's good. Okay, yeah, we hear and see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chennai in India.
Well, so it would be like 9 p.m. there, something like that?
Yes, actually 10 p.m.
10 p.m.? Okay, yeah. Well, I'm glad that we have a time that could kind of work for most people in the world at this point.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So your poem was Monotony, you said. I'm trying to pull it up. Okay, Monotony.
Should I send it to you?
No, I have it. I have it from when you submitted on Submittable. Do you want to say a little bit about what the poem is about?
Yes. Monotony is actually a poem that I wrote in response to news stories about celebrities now doing their household chores because they are in quarantine. And most of these news reports tend to romanticize household chores, make it look like it's something fun and something sexy, oh, look at Katrina Kaif doing dishes, that kind of stuff. But then I was kind of annoyed when I read these reports because I've seen my mother doing menial tasks at home from a very young age, and most of it was very laborious work. A lot of women around the world do household chores, and female labor is not valued,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I wanted to sort of put the pleasure angle of household chores in perspective. And that was the reason why I wrote this
That's awesome.
poem.
Well, everybody, it's on screen so everybody can see. So go ahead and read it whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Monotony. There are several ways to kill time during this quarantine, like doing dishes and cooking meals and taking care of the laundry. Are you disappointed with my suggestion? Then kindly consider this. That is how half of mankind every day lives. Yes, I mean the women. Take my mother, for instance. She was a tender 10 when she started doing chores and running errands. She was a good student, but who really cared? You are a girl, and your primary responsibility is to feed others and children bear. That is what my grandmother told her, for she only knew too well that no matter how gifted a woman, she will burn in domestic hell. You belong in the kitchen, I heard my father tell, and as a child, I too had chimed in. Yes, yes, in the kitchen. I regret it to this day. My mother drank her bitter tears and swallowed her youthful pride and spent her years in the monotony of domestic grind. Now I watch Bollywood stars doing their dishes and laymen flaunting their cooking flair. But pray, will all these happy ones agree to spend a lifetime this way?
Thanks so much for sharing that. And that was Vidya Venkat reading Monotony. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that video. An excellent poem. Another one of the really, really good ones that I wish we had room to publish. So thanks for sharing that and joining us today.
Thank you. Thank
Have a
you.
good one. Bye. Okay, let's see. So someone's calling. Well, Bill Friedman's calling. I was going to call him next. But, oh, he just talked. Okay, let me try calling Bill Friedman. Let's see if this works. Hey, Bill, this is Tim. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. If you have me still playing on the YouTube or whatever, turn that off. I don't hear it anymore. I thought I heard it for a second, so you're good. Never mind.
I don't think so. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so how you doing, Bill? And you're are you in Israel? Is that where you are?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Thanks so much for calling in. And it must be like what 6 p.m. there, or
It's no, it's a
5?
little after. Yeah, that's right. 7:27.
Ah, okay.
Almost 7:30. Yeah, 7-hour difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and
And we're still sort of locked in, but actually they've opened the door.
oh, have they?
And yeah, once you open the door a little bit for Israelis, they rush through. They don't wait.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So things are sort of starting to get back to normal. Is that am I hearing my ear, believing my ears when I hear that?
No, not really back to that. And people are frightened.
Mm-hmm.
They said that people over 67 can go back to work, but this is crazy. I don't think anybody will.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Yeah. I mean, it's the economy, the pressure of the economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, there's really two. It's sort of a juggling act or a balancing act we have to do. Where if you hold the economy down too far, people actually start to starve to death, especially in countries that
Right.
aren't food producers. If people
That's
start
right.
hoarding food and wheat and stuff like that, like they do toilet paper, and
Yeah.
and countries start using the food for their own countries and not exporting it to the countries that don't have enough. Serious like war, World War III kind of there's serious problems could come
Yeah.
up. So it's not like it's an easy decision. That's for sure.
Yeah, we've done pretty well here. Only a little more than 200 dead, a population of 9 million, which is pretty good. I mean, it's one of the few things our prime minister has done well.
Yeah. So Israel's about the size of New York City, just for comparison. And New York City has what 40,000 or something like that. I'm not sure where they are right now, but yeah.
Yeah. We locked down quickly.
Yeah. That's always a good thing to do. So the poem, I think you wanted to read. I didn't get the news today. Is that what you wanted to read?
Well, I have another one that I just sent you. I would rather read it, but I can do that one.
No, I have that too. So is it Memorial Day?
This one is, yeah, but this was in Israel. I mean, this is current events in Israel.
Yeah.
So is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Okay?
we'd love to hear current events in Israel. Yeah, for sure.
It's very short. It's very short. Okay. Today is Memorial Day. Well, I have to introduce it. We have Holocaust Day, and then a few days later, yes, Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers and the victims of terror. So we have a few Memorial Days. I mean, this is a country beset by death. Yes, it's a preoccupation here. Death. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. Today is Memorial Day again. This desert country has more than one each year. We're chosen. At a tolling hour, the sirens throb and blare, make a megaphone of air, 1,000 mothers wail through. The traffic stops like a long-held breath, but here and there a car or truck lets itself out, slowly, deferent or a bit ashamed. But no bird flies, and there are many here. The diary they write their daily entries in punctuate eccentrically. A graphologist would say they're wild, unsocialized, incapable of grief, is a blank blue page. The birds are still and silent. The birds are still and silent on their branches, heads bowed for the duration of the cry, remembering the fallen.
Thank you so much. That was Memorial Day by Bill Friedman calling in from Israel. Thanks so much for sharing that, Bill. It's really a pleasure to hear.
Thank you. I hope the idea of the fallen, the birds fall. That's how they die. That was the idea.
Yeah, it definitely works. And it reminds me, there's that poem, Alicia Porat, that we published that I always think of, the Painful Birds, where he talks about the birds that is helicopters flying over all the time in Israel. Yeah, that kind of calls to mind that poem. But thanks for sharing it, Bill. Hope you call in and share more poems every week if you write a new poem every week.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
It was Bill Friedman, and let's see. So you also have a 617 number, a 607 number, and a 203 number so far. Just let me remind you that the number, if you would like to call in, is 818-850-7727. It's halfway through the show right now, so you have a half an hour to talk and share poems. You can also send a Skype message to Rattle Poetry, and I'll call you back at the right time. Let me check the comments. Let me see how the comments are going. Yeah, so lots of people are joining in. We have 20 people on Facebook, 26 people watching live on YouTube. Hello to everybody on either side. I can't really monitor as I do with the Rattlecast. I can have more time to pay attention to the chat windows and things. With this, there's a lot going on, so I really can't. But hello to everybody there. Thanks for joining us this morning. Constantina Theophanopoulos just sent me a chat message. We'll get to you too. I think we have time for everybody who's gotten in line so far. Let's give a phone call to the 617 number. Let's see. Hey, this is Tim with Rattle. Would you like to read a poem on the air? Okay, great. You are live right now. And who am I talking to again?
Watertown, Massachusetts. It's great to be on with you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks so much. Ilan Wohari. I cut your name off for a second for everybody at home. But thanks so much for calling in from Watertown, New York. Let me try to find your poem.
Watertown, Massachusetts.
Or Watertown, Massachusetts. I'm sorry. I'm from Western New York, so I have a New York bias.
I gotcha.
There's a Watertown there too. So how did you submit your poem that you wanted to read?
I did, and I could talk a little about it before I read it. It's just a simple haiku, and I was looking
Hang
for
one
a
second.
basic.
Let me say your name again so I can. How do you spell it?
Oh, it's Ilan, Ilan. And last name is Mohari, Mochari.
Chari. Okay. So sorry to cut you off. So what were you saying about it?
So, I was just looking to write something that would provide a simple message of optimism in light of the pandemic and everything that we're going through. And, proverbially everyone talks about, this time, I think, as quote unquote hell. And it just got me thinking about Dante's Inferno. And I just sort of put down 3 lines, and I realized, it's a nice simple haiku. Let me see what other people think of it. So the haiku, I'll just read it now, is Dante, emerging from hell, beheld shining stars. They await us too.
Thanks so much.
And that's all it was. My pleasure.
Yeah, I remember that from the submissions. It is an uplifting message in a time where we really, just in general, poems tend to be so, dark because they deal with the problems we have mostly. And so if you publish too many poems that don't have a light at the end of the tunnel or a positive kind of direction, it ends up kind of bogging you down a little bit. So I was thinking about that as I read that submission yesterday. So thanks for sharing that, and thanks for calling in.
My pleasure. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was Ilan Mohari from Watertown, Massachusetts. Thanks so much for calling in. Let's see now. Let's do the 203 number. Let's see who that was. Now, it's fun doing the phone numbers because the mystery of not knowing who is going to answer is a lot of fun. And I should remind everybody I'm calling from the future. So,
hello?
Hello, this is Tim with Rattle. Would you like to share a poem? This is Tim with Rattle Magazine. Would you like to share a poem with us? Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me get you on so everybody can hear you. And who am I talking to?
Celine Mariotti in Shelton, Connecticut.
Hi. Thanks for calling again.
Thank you.
So what do you have for us this week?
Well, I wrote a poem called The Reopening, and it's dealing with, they're talking about reopening our state by May 20th, and as long as there's been 14 straight days of a decrease in hospitalizations, well, of course, at the same time, there's still more cases and more deaths, and so I wrote this poem, The Reopening.
Okay.
Is it just pure... Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it just pure conjecture? Right now, there's still no cure. Your mind goes numb. Everything is like a static hum. The governor says we may reopen by May 20th. Hair salons, nail salons, jewelry stores, shoe stores, and such. It all sounds Humpty Dumpty-ish. On the one hand, hospitalizations are decreasing. On the other hand, deaths and new cases are increasing. We read that our state will be in $1 billion deficit. How will we recover from these kinds of digits? Life right now is confusing. We need our writing to do our musing.
Thanks so much. That was Celine Mariotti. And that Humpty, what was it? It all sounds Humpty Dumpty. made me smile. Thanks so much for sharing that, Celine. Good to hear from you again.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Okay. Let's see. Here's Richard Westheimer. He was on last week too. Let's give him a call. Hey, Richard, just shut off the YouTube stream, and then I will bring you in. Okay. Richard, good to see you again. Thanks for calling well, I'm trying to remember where you were calling from. Was it Oregon or no?
Close, Southwest
Ohio?
Ohio. You got the O's. That's
I knew there was an O in there. Yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
see the brain working in action, and
right.
not well. Okay, so let me pull up whatever you sent in. Did you submit a poem through Submittable this week?
First submittable, The Shape of What Awaits.
Okay, let me pull it up. And how are you doing today?
Oh well, it's we live on a small farm here, and it's raining, so I get a day inside,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's doing a little tidying and enjoying life.
So what's it like living on a small farm? That's one of our fantasies, is to live on a small farm. We want to be away. We have neighbors, like push the neighbors away.
Yeah, it's we've lived here 44 years,
Hmm.
and life has grown up around us. So we
Uh-huh.
have lots of neighboring farms and construction, but
Hmm.
you know, uh, all this time of inconvenience, we're now sort of living our best life
Hmm.
during the time of COVID.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
this paradox of being locked in the place that you've always dreamt about being.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. I kind of feel that way too. I love our small town, and I always, I hate having to leave. Like, we live up in the mountains, so you have to drive down, and as few times as I have to drive down a week, I'm happy.
yeah,
So it's kind of been a strange that paradox. You're right.
yeah,
So the shape of what awaits was the poem you wanted to share today, right?
yeah, it is.
And did you want to say anything to introduce it before you read it?
Uh, sure. I was in a epistolary exchange with another local poet, and he sent me something a few weeks ago about forms and shapes, and I immediately went to Plato and the cave and thought about earlier this week when all the talk of opening up was coming, and I think Georgia was in the news on Monday. Um, I this is what sort of struck me in response to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay, great.
those two combinations.
Okay, great. It's on screen for everybody, so share whenever you're ready.
Okay, terrific. Um, the shape of what awaits. It's been 3 weeks since John Prine died. The same day a 5-year-old girl was shot in Chicago. In Milwaukee, long lines formed outside voting locations. 2 days before, believers gathered at Solid Rock Church, covered, they said, in the blood of Jesus, protected from what stalked the rest of us. The news from outside is shadows cast by the light of my screen. Or maybe there's a fire behind me, built on the bones of strangers, casting phantoms on these walls I imagine protect me. People ask how I am doing, as if I know the shape of what awaits. Fine, I say, fine. It's so peaceful in here, and I can stream videos of John singing Paradise. Know his ashes were spread down the Green River. But that girl from Chi-Town, she died for nothing, I suppose, except to add to the pyre of burning bones. If some enlightened man walked in here, told me that outside was all normal, restaurants packed and streets full of cars, while all this time I've been staring at screens and spraying sanitizer on my mail, I would throw that man on the flames, turn my back, and watch the shadows dance.
Thanks so much. That was Richard Westheimer reading his poem from this week, The Shape of What Awaits. And there's another poem. I remember that last paragraph stood out for me as I was reading it too. This spending all the time staring at screens and all that. Thanks for sharing that, Richard. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Bye. Okay. So if anybody, let me just say, I'm going to say this a few times, so maybe somebody can help me out. You notice how Richard's screen, the size of the video is expanding and contracting? That's based on his bandwidth, which happens a lot with a lot of guests. And it's because Skype adjusts how many pixels you get on the video for how much bandwidth you have at the time. And so with people who have a internet connection that doesn't, he had a really good one at some time, and then his own bandwidth decreases, which shrinks the screen size, but it expands, and I'm using OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, and NDI to bring in Skype. If anybody knows how to make the screen fix the size so it just gets pixelated instead of jumping up and down, I cannot figure that out. Nothing will lock it into one. I've been doing this for 9 months. So if there's any tech gurus out there, give me a message or something to let me know how I might be able to fix that. It drives me crazy. But it happens every single show. Now, okay. Anyway, I just thought I'd get that out there. Because I have no idea who to ask. The thing is, there's no instruction manual for any of this, so you just have to try to figure out what works and what doesn't. Who is next? Constantina Theophanopoulos. Let me give her a call. Okay, so it's ringing. Hey, Constantina, this is Tim with Rattle. Would you like to share a poem? Oh, connection was lost. Oh, you're back. Okay. Hang on one second. Let me pull you in so everybody can see you. Here we go. So, there you go. Constantina Theophanopoulos. Sorry for mangling that. It is. It's a great... What is it? Yeah, well, it's Greek to me, but it's a great name. I want to say it right. Theophanopoulos. Is that good? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. So you submitted. Let's see. You said you submitted a poem last week and this week, and you wanted to read one of them. Yeah, whichever you'd prefer. I've dissected. Well, actually, probably read, because I haven't read this as a submission yet. So read a Temporal Pounds, and then next week you can do dissected if we don't publish it. Okay. So you're calling from Greece. How are things in Greece? Oh, you're calling from Spain. Oh wow, you. Okay, yeah. So you are all over the place because your address on Submittable says New York City. So you are all over the place. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Rather than in Manhattan, where some friend might be in Astoria or another in New Jersey, or someone else might be in Manhattan, but actually 40 minutes from where you live. So I decided to come here and spend the quarantine here. It was actually a pretty good decision. And but I live in New York. I've lived here, but I still have homes here, and my parents and my family are in Greece. So how things are here, it's been pretty weird because I came from New York, and in New York no one had understood of what was going on. Everyone was like going out, and there were even, I remember in Tompkins Square there were jazz concerts, and I couldn't believe it. And then I came here in the end of March, and there was no one in the streets. We were not able, as of yesterday, to go out for a walk or exercise. People and the police was asking you, where do you live and where are you going to? And if there was no supermarket open, you had no reason to be out, and you would be given a fine. So yesterday was the first day that we could go out and have a walk or even exercise. So it was much better. So
that's one of the just sort of tragedies that people say not to go outside, because vitamin D from the sun is just so important for your immune system, and the fresh air. If you can keep a distance from people, getting out in the sun's really important. So yeah, I saw some of those in Italy too, where you couldn't even go outside. And I saw some article about a kid who, or a family with, like 3 kids or something in Italy, and the kids hadn't left the apartment in 6 weeks. That is just for kids. That's just terrible. So a little overboard sometimes. The decisions, it's kind of protecting, trying to be too safe or something. Yeah.
I know. I'm actually also I'm a neuroscientist, and all the scientific community has been rushing to do something for the pandemic. So even though we have expertise I'm working on the neuroscience of language, but although my training has been, on doing experiments for understanding the neurobiology of language, I'm now using my expertise for COVID-19. So I'm actually doing research on this too. And it's, pretty weird to be working from home and doing analysis and statistics for something that could be very useful, but really not, exposing myself to the virus, because there are other people who are working on a vaccine who are really exposing themselves. So I'm also feeling this kind of thing that I might be part of the solution, but in a way that's a bit coward. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that is so cool that you're a neuroscientist and a poet. We did a Science Poets issue back a few years ago, and that was maybe my favorite issue. I love the interview we did with a marine biologist. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you more if we could someday about neurobiology and poetry, because it's such a cool. It's just so fundamental to what we are as humans, that we make language, we make meaning out of language, and the way language acquisition works and the way poetry works through it. Just such a fascinating topic. So it's really cool to hear from you. Okay, so the poem you wanted to read is Atemporal Pounds, since we don't want to do dissected yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay. So do you want to say anything out to introduce this in particular?
Yeah, the only thing I would like to say is that when I sat down and I started writing this poem, what I was feeling was that whatever was coming out in the past days was coming out really rigid, really stiff. And I could just not write a proper poem or something that would read to me like a proper poem. And I said, you know what? This also has a value. This actually even has a historical value. So if you write something that reads to you rigid and stiff, and you want to submit it, because what is read and what will be read is this stiffness. It's not a very good poem. No, I'm definitely sure it's not a very good poem, but I think that there is an effort, an endeavor to find a topic and rhythm that goes from a more so in the beginning, I'm trying to find rhythm in means that I do not have to do, with trying to find the same verse that has the same ending with the other. But in the end, I end up doing it in a kind of a silly way, because I just cannot do anything else anymore. And I think it speaks to this era. At least it speaks to the way I found myself writing in this era. And I think it was, worth sending it. Why not? And worth reading it today.
Awesome.
Okay. Are you going to put it up?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, you won't be able to see it, though. So you have to find your own copy.
Okay, great. Okay. I have it.
But everybody else at home can see it.
Okay. So it's Atemporal Pounds. Poetry submissions on the pandemic are encouraged. What the actual fuck, I'm thinking. Yet I can't help but also think they are right. There might be poets who can poeticize the situation, unlike me. I'm feeling so poetic these days, I can't write poetry about it. I wrote it to a friend some days ago. I'm feeling atemporal, like this, with a dash. Without a dash, it will feel 100 times more temporal, let alone timeless. This would be a clear catastrophe, not even an ounce close to what I really wanted to say. I'm now wondering what the fuck is wrong with me, and I just used the word ounce when I had never before and will never have the faintest idea of how much an ounce really is, let alone a pound. All this is Greek to me, but fuck, I can't use this either because I'm Greek. But wait a second. There might be something poetic in pound. In its meaning, I can understand. Animal Pound, a place where stray livestock are confined. Bingo. This thought can make a bestseller. I'm thinking while I distract myself Googling differences between animal pounds and shelters. But I'm back now to this Word doc, untitled still, thinking I should come up with something witty on how this pandemic can teach us how to make a pound feel like shelter, four walls feel like home, kiss it better, pour some shots of rum. Let's download this yoga app. Damn, I don't have this yoga strap. Passwords are stolen by the Netflix techs, but I won't write to my ex. This document has been blank for a month, but now I've written more than half a page, flies out in the balcony like I float in space, a temporal.
Terrific. Thanks so much. That was Atemporal Words by Constantina Theophanopoulou. Thanks so much for sharing that, Christina. That was one of those poems, that I remember reading in the submissions, and it was a really interesting one. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that. I love the way you move from the sort of free stream of consciousness, just thinking about the sort of meta poem, and then dive into a poem too. It was a good one. Thanks so much for sharing it.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you for all this.
Yep,
thank you.
My pleasure. Bye.
Cheers.
Okay, so that was Constantina Theophanopoulou. And let's see, we have 7 minutes left. I'm not sure if we're gonna get to everybody this week, but I'll do my best. Let me try to make sure. I'm trying to get to, let's see, call ended. Well, maybe we will. We have let's see. So Greg Bell, who I remember Greg Bell. Let me call him up. Greg Bell's a local. He comes to or at least once came to our literary festival. I'll give him a call and try to remember to unmute him. I apologize. At the very beginning, I had Constantina on mute. I just forgot to click that button for a second until I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Greg Bell, hey, this is Tim with Rattle. Can you hear me? Yeah, let me pull you in 1 second. If you want to show yourself, there's the video button on the screen, which you haven't clicked yet. Oh, there you go. So Greg Bell, great to see you. And you are I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly where you live, but you're relatively local to me because you were, I think you came in 3rd place at last year's Wrightwood Literary Slam.
Yes, I live in L.A., Mar Vista.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, it's good to see you again.
Well, likewise, good to see you. I've been watching from a distance here and enjoying the show of a Sunday morning.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. Did you want to share a poem? Let me see if I'm trying to find. Did you email it to me or anything?
No, Tim, I didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm unclear on the routine. I did not send it to you.
It's okay. If you want to show it on screen, you can, if you can, really quickly email it to openmic@rattle.com, or we can just show you reading it, and that's fine too.
Well, it'll take some time.
Yeah, if you we got a couple minutes. If you want to send it over really quick.
I can do that.
Okay. Yeah. So while you're doing that, let me see. I'll look over at the chat window and see what people are saying, and we'll wait for Greg to send that poem over so you can read along. Let's see. So yeah, hello to everybody. Vidya Venkat over on a Facebook, who was on earlier, she included the link to that poem if anybody wants to read it again, that she shared, Monotony. Looks like on her website, which is vidyavenkat.com, so you can go read it there. Let's see who else is. Let's see. Neil Lemery says, "This hour is a feast for my soul." Thanks so much, Neil. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, and everyone's telling me about the no sound. I'm sorry about that. I mute people so in case you don't have to hear the ringtone. And then I forgot to unmute her for a little bit, but you got most of what she said, and you know what she was saying based on what I was saying too, I guess. So let's see. You about ready over there, Greg?
Yes, Tim. I sent it to you.
To open mic at Rattle or to my email?
I sent it to your email.
Okay, I'll pull it up then. Come on, where are you? Loading. Tim at rattle.com you sent it to?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. It just took a while to bounce around the internet. Okay. So going viral. Yep. Okay, I got it. Going viral. Is there anything you want to say to introduce it?
Oh, I don't think so. Except I did not send it into you because it migrated into this.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And I had to fix that this morning, but well, here it is.
Okay.
It should be self-explanatory.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, going viral. And as the tiny virus terrorizes the world, and as the beaches are shut down while my community heats up, and as I break the ban to walk the sand in the sun and breathe, I contemplate the possibility of Corona beach spray and abandoned beachhead. I see at home footage from last night taken by a boater attentive to bioluminescent algae in the suffering ocean that heats and fills with plastic, something to awaken masked noses, mouths, and sensibilities, eyes taped shut. Dolphins undulate electric blue below splashing vivid spume silver streams of light that cool in neon plumes this heated night.
Very nice. That was Greg Bell reading Going Viral. Thanks so much for sharing that, Greg. I saw that picture too. I love that bioluminescent. I've never seen it in person, so it's really cool to see that on social media anyway.
Yes, it was. It was breathtaking, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. And actually, I ended up, I hadn't gone to Reddit in a long time, but for some reason the link where I saw that was on Reddit, and I ended up watching a bunch of crazy videos on Reddit, which I haven't, I felt like I wasn't too old for the internet anymore. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there. But anyway, thanks so much for sharing that, Greg. It's good to see you and hear you again.
Likewise, Tim. Thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Right.
Bye.
Ciao.
Okay, so we'll close out. Jessica Renee Dawson had a poem she wanted us to share. It was in Poets. She submitted to the Poets Respond, but it's been published since. And now normally we don't do pre-recorded poems because there's just I can't. It takes too much time to get the sound level okay, and it's just too much to juggle if I do that. And I like the spontaneous feeling of people calling in. But Jessica had a really good reason why she couldn't call in. And so I thought we would let her do a pre-recorded one. And I don't know if you heard that or not. Nope, you didn't. So this is Lou Roll Paradise, a toilet paper fairy tale, I believe. Wait a minute. In Pursuit of the Sinner. I don't think this is the poem. Yeah. Let me see. Let me go back to this email she sent. Hang on one second, because this poem that I was about to play for you isn't the poem that, let's see. Where was that? This is some great... this is some great broadcasting right here. Watching me look for an email, I'm sure. Where was it? I might just have to read this because. Oops. I'm trying to. Yeah. So this poem. Okay. Let's see. No. Well, I'm not sure if this is the right audio or not. We'll see. Anyway, this is a toilet paper fairy tale. I'll put it on screen so you can see what I'm looking at least. And if the audio isn't right, I will just read it myself. But this is from Ponder Savant, and then this is a haiku. What do you call it? Haiga. I guess that Jessica Renee Dawson made with toilet paper over the head of a doll. And this is a toilet paper fairy tale. And this is the audio I have, so I'm not sure. We'll see if it's right. Let's see.
No ray of sunlight. A quote by Cyrus Luna, the security minister of El Salvador, read by Jessica Renee Dawson from Vancouver Island, British.
Yeah, so this wasn't the link she sent. Yeah, I'm just a little, oops. A little confused. Let's see. Do I know Ray? Maybe she wanted us to read. Let's see. Recordings. Oh, it's two separate things. So I didn't read the I didn't read the note very well. She asked me if I could either play this recording or show that other poem. That's why there were two separate poems. Okay, so sorry for that. That was just me, waking up an hour before the show starts and not paying careful enough attention. So let's try it this way. This is the actual poem, No Ray of Sunlight, which I can pull up here. And this is what Jessica wanted to share. And in her note about it, let's see, she said, in the last month I've been working with a new student to poetry, encourage her to participate. Let's see, I've been thinking about this new story about El Salvador gangs and prisons almost all week and trying to wrap my head around it. I wrote a couple of the stanzas a few days ago in iambic tetrameter, and then I paused, still baffled at the images of men in masks and rows on the floor in the prison. In further research, I learned gangs compete with the Salvadorian government for governance. I learned that many bodies are picked up off the streets every night, and many homicides are from gang members in jail, sending messages to those on the outside. In addition to murders, gang members are known to be responsible for many rapes there. I alluded to this in the first stanza. The first line, the country is bleeding to death, is translated from a quote on Twitter in response to a tweet from the president of El Salvador. So this is No Ray of Sunlight, and sorry for the confusion earlier. I should have read that. I should have read that email more carefully. So here's No Ray of Sunlight by Jessica Dawson. We'll let her read it for you.
No ray of sunlight. A quote by Cyrus Luna, the security minister of El Salvador, read by Jessica Renee Dawson from Vancouver Island, British Columbia. The country is bleeding to death as crimson flows from street to street and stains the hems of white dresses torn by the hands of violent men who sit in hollows of man-made night with voices traveling from prison walls, their coded messages in silence, moving through bricks to kill 50 people. The inmates' mouths covered in blue to stay the spread of COVID-19, while skin sweat touches skin sweat in rows like eggs in open markets. The tattooed naked bodies rest, their bones against the concrete floor, with chain-linked men from rival gangs, all locked together with shaven skulls. There is no ray of sunlight here. The angle grinder sprays her sparks as teeth cut through the metal sheets to cover up the cell block doors.
That was Jessica Renee Dawson reading No Ray of Light. And you can really hear the iambics there. Really great. I love meter. I love meter, and it's an excellent formal poem. So thanks so much for sharing that, Jessica Renee Dawson. Sorry again for confusing it. But the other poem, if you wanted to check it out yourself, that I showed, if you're curious what that was all about, a toilet paper fairy tale. So again, this website is This website is Ponder Savant at pondersavant.com, and you can look up Lou Roll Paradise, a toilet paper fairy tale, art and poetry by Jessica Renee Dawson, if you want to see that some other time. But that is it for tonight, or for this morning, I guess. I have the rest of the day to do. Hope you enjoyed this. I always do, so thanks so much for joining me. I should remind you to click the like button and share and let other people watch this. It's archived always, so you can send people to here to watch, even though it's no longer live. People keep watching it and enjoying it all week. And please do click the like button and share and subscribe wherever you're watching. Rattle's a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We've been doing this since 1995, and we just do it because we love poems. And we hope you do too. Now, I should say before we go, I wanted to remind everybody, I'm trying to make a point to do this, but the prompt for Tuesday, if you'd like to join in and share a open mic poem, on Tuesday, it's for the Rattlecast. Our guest is going to be Danusia Lemaris. But the prompt for the week for the open mic is a superhero comes home to an empty house after a long day on the job. So you have 2 days still to write a poem. And it's the same kind of deal on the Rattlecast as here. All you have to do is you can send the poem to openmic@rattle.com, and I can show it on screen if you want, and you call in and read it. And that's a lot of fun. And me and Megan both try to write the prompt poem every week too. So we have poems in there as well. And just another excuse to write poetry, which always makes the world a better place. So hope you participate with that. Now, as I mentioned, next week's guest is going to be Danusia Lemaris with her book Bonfire Opera, which just came out. That's Tuesday, May 5th. Hope you can join us. Danusia is a great poet. We've published it a bunch of times. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And that's it for tonight, or for this morning. Have a good one, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.